interesting day. We've had some cloud cover, we've had some winds, some of us even participating in a little bit of rainfall, and that's been very, very helpful because our pollen count for the second day in a row has been near record breaking. As you can see from our pollen count records yesterday, that 14,801, that was the highest ever recorded. And today, 11,159. That's what our pollen count was. It was definitely another day where the tree pollen was very, very high. So the good news is we are going to be looking at a little bit of rainfall, and that is going to help us. But over the last week, we've been seeing some really high numbers, and peak pollen season will be that first week in April, but relief is on the way. Hey, let's go ahead and look at the big monitor. We want to see exactly what we're looking at. There is a large system, and it is stretching very, very wide. Several tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, these red boxes or tornado watches. That's going from Chicago all the way down to St. Louis into Missouri. We are seeing at least 2 tornado warnings. So it's definitely a very busy day for some people off to the west. As we take a closer look here at home, we just have some moisture that's coming in. There's a few spotty showers, but you can see Dallas is preparing for their threat of severe weather as well. Taking another closer look over the last 2 hours, some of us have been seeing some really heavy pockets of rainfall, especially down south near Macon, a few spotty showers near Rome right now. And here in Metro Atlanta, we have had a few brief downpours, not any severe weather, not even a rumble of thunder. We were caught under one of those really strong ones that were near Piedmont Park, but you can see in the north loop of 285 just a little bit of rainfall right now. Here is a live look at Truist Park. You can see those rain clouds in the background there. Some of us are seeing some rain. Well, most of us are saying dry, and that's going to be the case throughout the rest of this evening. Temperatures are going to be into the low 70s around 8 p.m. Then we'll be dropping into the upper 60s, but temperatures are really not the big concern as we head throughout the next at least 24 hours. Here's a look at the severe threat for your Monday. That's our big weather maker that we are keeping our eye on right now. Almost the entire state of Georgia into a level 3 risk for strong to severe storms. And we have a weather impacts alert out when from 4 a.m. to 3 p.m. on your Monday. Heavy rain, strong winds are definitely possible. You want to make sure that you are alert. I know a lot of people are going to be going out, going to work, going to school, dropping the kids off. There's a lot of things that happen on a Monday morning. So just make sure that you are aware in between those hours. Really around 3 p.m. you don't have to worry about that rainfall anymore. But before that, just make sure that you have multiple ways to get notifications. Here's a look at our storm threats. What are some things that we're keeping our eye out on? High winds, that will be our main concern throughout the day for your Monday. Tornado threat is very low. It's not a 0, but it's definitely low. Whenever we talk about high winds as our main threat, there's always going to be a very light risk for some tornadoes, and then heavy rain and some trees down. We say trees down because we're getting some rainfall today. Then you have to add on the rainfall that we'll see tomorrow, plus the high winds that could be able to push down some trees, maybe see some power outages. So those are just some things that you have to think about as you plan your Monday. Here's a look at our forecast track throughout the rest of tonight. If we see any strong storms tonight, that's going to be happening within the next hour. As of right now, the weather is behaving, and we're starting to see those showers kind of dissipate just a little bit. In fact, by 11 p.m. we will be mostly dry. But the strongest of the storms that we're keeping our eye out will be on Monday. You can see in northwest Georgia, there could be a strong storm that's part of that system right now that is moving through the Midwest. That system is going to be pushing eastward, and then at 5 a.m. it'll be really barely scathing past northwest Georgia. Spotty showers are expected Monday morning around 8:30 a.m. Don't get too caught up in the time frame for these storms. Just be prepared. Make sure you have those notifications, because if we see some of these storms pop out ahead of that main front, some of those storms could be on the stronger side. So you could be seeing those high winds ahead of the main line of storms. Now, last night when we were walking you through this, the storm threat was a little bit more serious. As of right now, our model runs, the latest model runs are showing things not as bad, but we still want to make sure that you are aware because there's still a little bit of organization with these storms as they push through around 11 a.m. Whenever we see organization with that line, that signifies that high wind factor that we're keeping an eye out for, and that is our main concern. Now, these storms will continue to push off. Now, some of these storms could break away from that main line, still causing a severe weather threat. That's around 1:30 p.m. for your Monday afternoon. As we head into the 2-3 o'clock hour, we start to dry out just a little bit, and by Tuesday, it's going to be completely dry. As far as rainfall totals, what can we expect? Maybe an inch, really less than an inch across the state of Georgia. We're not looking at really heavy rainfall totals, but because the rain will be coming in all at once, that's when we have to worry about the potential for flash flooding. In fact, it's a marginal risk, which means very light, but there is a chance, and that's another reason why they went ahead and they upped us to that level 3. As far as our wind gusts are concerned, at 5:30, this is a look at your wind gusts for tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m., maybe a 22-mile-an-hour wind gust here in Atlanta. While that's not the highest that we've ever seen, and it's definitely not going to meet the criteria for a wind advisory, it still could push down a tree or two. So you just need to make sure that you are aware. We've had a lot of storms come through Georgia in the last few weeks, in the last few months, to be honest with you. So some of those trees could be dead. Some of them could be broken at the roots. So you need to make sure that you are paying very close attention if you live in an area or there's a lot of trees around your home. You don't want those trees to fall down. You want to make sure that you are very, very safe. Now, to put this into motion, even at 5:30, once that rainfall moves out of here, some of the winds on the backside of that front could still be stronger. You can see how tight those wind gradients are as that storm pushes eastward. Thomaston could be really recording a 30-mile-an-hour wind gust at 5:30 p.m. Still doesn't quite meet the criteria for a wind advisory, but we're just giving you a fair heads up that the winds could be elevated for your Monday. Now, here's looking at your rain chances. Of course, there's an 80% chance for some rain showers for your Monday. Tuesday looks completely dry. Tuesday is going to be one of the best days out of the week. As we head into your Wednesday and Thursday, there is a very light chance for some rain showers. Right now, it looks like spotty showers at best. Then we dry out for your Friday. Friday is going to be an excellent day if you like the nice high temperatures, because our temperatures are going to be very, very elevated. Now, as of right now, we're not looking at a big rain threat throughout the next 7 days, except for what we're seeing for your Monday. In fact, here's a look at our long range forecast track. You can see how much rainfall it's pulling in. That's not going to be happening for your Monday. It's a little bit dramatic there, but by Tuesday, you can see how dry we will be. And then as we put it into motion, Wednesday morning, we were seeing a little bit of rainfall, but it looks like Wednesday has a chance to be mostly dry. This is just that time of the year where we can see some spotty showers. Some days will be dry, and then some days we could be looking at a large storm system that could approach. So you have to make sure that you're on your toes at all times. As of right now, obviously, we're way too far out to even discuss what could be happening by next Sunday, but there's a chance for some rain and maybe a few thunderstorms as well. You can see that drop in temperatures, which usually helps determine how likely we will be to see strong to severe storms. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast for you. A weather impacts alert for your Monday. That's tomorrow morning. What time frame? Remember, this is going to be between 4 a.m. and around 3 p.m. for your Monday morning. So just keep that in mind as you plan your morning hours. Make sure you allow a lot of extra time as these storms roll through. Now, later on, you might hear, Alabama schools are already canceling school for tomorrow. It's not going to be that bad here in Atlanta, but you need to make sure that you are weather aware in case you lose power or in case you lose ways to communicate as well. Temperatures will be rising as we head throughout this week. Friday, highs could be near 88 degrees. That's very, very warm as you head into your weekend. It's going to be a nice start to the weekend. And then as we head into your Sunday, rain chances re-enter into the forecast. Temperatures will be dropping into the 80s, but still a 40% chance for some rain showers on Sunday, something that we'll have to keep our eye on. But Wednesday and Thursday, spotty showers at best. Not too bad of a work week. Just make sure that you are weather aware for your Monday. With your weather impact update, I'm meteorologist Danielle Moss. you.